frankly, I think that we have to emphasize as much as we possibly can that we are opposed to the nomination of Senator Goldwater. We believe that any man who would run a campaign based on bigotry should not be, in my view, the candidate. This is a calculated campaign against minorities. We think that it's anti-Catholic, anti-Jewish, anti-Negro, and in my view, any party that would nominate a man to run on this particular platform is jeopardizing the prestige of Americans throughout this world.
Do you think that some have any influence on public opinion?
Well, we certainly believe that in an area such as San Francisco and other urban cities where you have predominantly liberal-thinking people who would recognize that there are people like this, when thousands of people come out in San Francisco, that thousands more will come out in Los Angeles and New York and all over this country. And therefore, it may make the delegates stop and think that not only is Mr. Goldwater going down the drain, but many of the people who are going to be running on the Republican ticket will go down with a man like Goldwater heading the ticket. I think it's important that we have Republicans in the Senate and Republicans in the Congress. I think it would be a tragedy if a man like Senator Keating was not reelected to go back into the Senate. But he knows full well that his chances are considerably hurt with Goldwater heading a ticket, and I think that it was going to set the Republican Party back so far with Goldwater heading the ticket, because you just cannot win, in my view. No man since 1916 has won the presidential nomination or the presidency by courting directly the South, and this is since 1916, and Goldwater believes firmly that this is the only way that he can win. I don't believe, if you will take a look at the Democrats in the Senate and the Democrats in Congress, that they're going to allow the Republicans to take over if they possibly can help it. So therefore, they're going to go out and do everything possible to see to it that the Democrats stay in power in Washington.
Don't the Republican moderates and liberals have only themselves to blame for the situation in which they find themselves today?
I agree with this thoroughly. That's why I have such great respect for Governor Rockefeller. He saw the danger in a Goldwater from the very start. He saw the problems for himself as getting in the nomination, but he knew that someone had to get in there and fight all the way down the line. He did it with integrity and dignity, and now the people, the write-ups you've seen in the paper, recognize that this is a man who is thoroughly interested in the Republican Party, and his concern was genuine. He went all out to see to it that if it was all possible that the nomination would not go to Goldwater, the others sat back hoping that the governor would knock off Senator Goldwater and then they would come in. In my view, had they recognized the dangers of a Goldwater at the start and started to work hard with the delegates the same way the Goldwater had, that we wouldn't be in the position that we are today. And I think we're in a very critical position because, in my view, if we nominate a Goldwater, and God help us if he's elected president, that the position of America would be in such a dangerous position throughout the world that we would never recuperate from it. We don't recognize it. We here in this country and the white people make up only one-fifth of the total population of the world. And it was told to me that there is tremendous concern by people, you've seen it in the press, that if Goldwater gets the nomination, if he gets the presidency, it could have total effects upon people throughout this world. These are the kinds of dangers that we face now, and I think that the people will have to stop, take a good solid look at where we're headed for, and recognize that the people who are supporting Goldwater are bigots. And in my view, Goldwater is a bigot. Nothing he says will change it. He is calling upon Negro leaders to meet with him and discuss the civil rights issue. I don't see any reasons for Negro leaders meeting with Goldwater. He's expressed himself. His views are very well known. And the only thing he could do for the Negro leaders to meet with Goldwater is to enhance his chances, because it would totally confuse people knowing that Negro leaders went in and met with this man. I say that if the Republican Party nominates Goldwater, they're going to be deserving of the kind of defeat that they will get in the 1964 campaign. The only thing, it's a tragedy that the others will have to go down the drain with Goldwater.
Jackie, you are a Republican, and you supported Nixon in 1960, did you not?
Yes, I did. I supported Mr. Nixon because I believe firmly in the two-party system. I think it's very important that we have it. I think we were on the road to getting it. Negroes were beginning to understand that as long as they were under the influence of a particular party, that they would still get the short end of the stick. And we're about ready to influence great numbers of Negroes to go over and support the Republican Party. The nomination of Goldwater has just turned this thing completely around, the same thing as the telephone call by Kennedy Mrs. King when he was in jail in 1960, turned the election over for Mr. Kennedy. I say that if Mr. Nixon had done a good job in dealing with the minority groups in 1960, he would have been president instead of Mr. Kennedy.
Mr. Chester, as the chairman of the event on Sunday, do you anticipate any possibility of violence?
No, we do not. The last parade that we had on May the 26th of last year, we had some 30,000 people, and the police department informed us that there was not a single arrest. However, the situation is a little bit different this time. We have learned that perhaps members of the White City and the Ku Klux Klan is in town, and they will try to perhaps provoke some violence, but we're determined that we're going to have a peaceful demonstration and no violence.
Will this be the largest demonstration in the history of San Francisco?
We intend to make this the largest demonstration that San Francisco has ever known.
About how many people do you think will participate?
Well, we had 30,000 before. We haven't put as much time and effort in the last one as we're putting into this one. I'd estimate we should have over 50,000.
Jackie, do you feel that any progress has been made towards brotherhood in the past year?
I think there's been considerable progress, but you don't measure it by how much progress has been made, in my view. I think we have to look at how much further we have to go.
How much further do we have to go? How would you appraise the situation today?
Well, I am very disturbed and upset about the potential of the summer, and I think that unless people in representative positions, governors, mayors, the president, if they don't initiate programs, if they don't move forward rapidly, I'm very much afraid that 1968 is going to be very, very bad. So I'm not encouraged at all by what I see in the immediate future.
Do you feel there's been a lack of preparation, that suddenly the summer will be on us and there won't have been any proper programs prepared?
I think this is basically the problem. We're just looking at summer activities and rather than look at the overall picture, unless there is the first step being made, whether it's done in February or whether it's done in July. I think we're in for serious problems.
What is this first step that you think should be made?
Well, I think very frankly that there has to be a sincerity of purpose, and I don't think that people in leadership ability have shown it. I think they've got to take a look at Branch Rickey, take a look at Fort Frick, Happy Chandler in 1946, and observe the things that they did to break down the barriers in baseball. And whenever there were problems, they moved vigorously and they let people know exactly where they stood. I don't think enough governors, enough mayors do that today.
Don't you think that there are being given opportunities for black people and other minorities in jobs, in employment, and in education that is unprecedented from comparison with the past?
Yes, but you still must take a look at the overall picture. 5-6 years ago, we were making 58% of what white Americans were making. Today, we're making about 53%. While there is this kind of progress, I don't think that people recognize that the country has made fantastic progress as well, and the Negro has not made proportionate progress as far as jobs, as far as activities, as far as earning a livelihood is concerned.
What specifically then can be done? Isn't one of the problems the fact that the black person in many instances doesn't have proper training, the proper education to prepare himself for employment that might be available?
Well, I think we got to look at who's the fault, because the black American has not had proper training, proper preparation. He has been denied time and time again the opportunity to go in as far as his individual ability allow him to go. And if he does get himself a good education, 9 out of 10 times he can't go and get a job based upon ability. They look at skin coloring. So until white ownership, until white people are ready to give a person opportunities based on ability, I still think we're in serious trouble.
Jackie, could you give one example of something specific that you feel should be done to provide the equal opportunity to which every person is entitled?
Well, I think it's being done in many areas, not enough. In Detroit, for instance, they are going out with so-called welcome wagons or wagons, and they see people and they're finding jobs for them, and they're giving them a feeling that somebody cares. I think this is the problem today. There's such a wide gap between the races, a wide gap between people, that the feeling in most instances that the Negro feels that, white America just doesn't care what's going to happen. And so the imprint that's left on the minds of the young person is that he's got to make an impression and he's got to do something. And the only progress that he has seen is through the riots, through the violence in the streets. And he will say to the moderate leaders that, what have you been able to achieve by your approach? Look what we've been able to do. We've seen more mayors, we've seen more governors, we've gotten more attention, more bills passed now that we've gotten in the streets. I think we've got to erase this and give some victories to the right kind of leadership, and I don't think we're doing that.
Are you sympathetic with the Negro athletes who have announced the plan to boycott the Olympic Games?
Very much so. Anytime any individual, black, white, yellow, green, doesn't make any difference skin coloring, is willing to sacrifice to achieve better opportunities for his people, then I support it. The Negro athlete is basically saying there are evils, there are wrongs in this country of ours. The best way that I can eliminate them is to go and boycott where I can make a contribution, and that is in the Olympic Games, through my legs, through my ability to run. So I'm going to, unless conditions change, boycott the Olympic Games. So I do support them, and I congratulate them, and I think it's wonderful that they have the courage and the determination and the willingness to sacrifice something meaningful and something important to them to achieve equal opportunity in this country of ours.
Don't you think this, however, will create ill will among the majority races, the majority race, as they look upon this boycott?
Well, I think, very frankly, that those who are going to be upset and disturbed about it wasn't very much of a friend in the first place. So we haven't lost very much if there is ill will. And very frankly, most of the athletes couldn't care less whether there's ill feeling or not. They want equal opportunities, and the white man obviously gets mad if they make these kind of demands, so they are going to go ahead and do it anyway. So if there is ill feeling, so be it. It has to be done.
Isn't the Negro athlete, however, in the most privileged position virtually of all Negroes, along with Negro entertainers?
So it behooves him to get involved in the struggle so that those who are not athletes, those who are struggling, it's his responsibility to be involved. Those who have been successful, those who have been fortunate, it is a responsibility to get involved to help ensure the rights. So when his child comes up and may not have athletic ability, or his friend's child who may not have this kind of ability can go as far as he would like to go in some other field.
Thank you very much, Jackie Robinson.
Fine.